All right, welcome to the AnonCreds v2.0 spec or AnonCreds meeting. We're actually going to merge the two meetings into one to be consistent each week. So on the agenda today is AnonCreds v1 cryptographic element PRs. Talk through those and any questions Aritra has, who is a Hyperledger mentee working on a AnonCreds project. We are recording. Reminder of the Linux Foundation antitrust policy that is in effect, as well as the Hyperledger Code of Conduct. I noticed Patrick had added something to the agenda. I don't see him yet, but wanted to we'll leave that open if he joins in. Welcome to have him ask any questions he's got about revocation and where we are with that. Jesus, good to see you here as well. Aritra, we had the PRs. The big thing was trying to sort out these nonce issues, you and Mike. Have you sorted those out, and are we set to go with these?
No, there was some confusion at last when we discussed over it in Discord.
Okay. Is this the area you wanted to see, or is there something I can put on the screen, or how can you and Mike get this sorted out? What do you suggest?
I guess you can open the specification once, the specification doc that is there in the website, and we can start from there.
Okay. So we are at the point of we've received an offer. The offer contains a nonce from the issuer. And contains the key correctness proof for the credential definition. I think we're good with this one, right? Is this part of it okay? Understood?
Yes, this part.
Okay, so at this point we've received a key correctness proof from the issuer and a nonce from the issuer. We go to the credential request, and the key correctness proof is verified by the holder. So is this step clear? Aritra?
Yes.
So this part's fine. So the next part is the holder constructs the credential request, and in doing that, they put in the blinded master secret and the blinded master secret correctness proof. So this covers how they blind the secret, and then how they generate the correctness proof. And this is where I think it sort of falls off, right?
Yes, in the issue credentials section. I guess it's section 8.3.1.
I'm sorry. Okay. So when we're issuing the credential.
No, 8.3.1. In the issuance section where we are verifying the credential request.
Right, okay. Okay, so that is this. I'm there now. So the blindest, we were almost there. In 824, the holder creates the blinded link secret correctness proof using the nonce from the issuer. And then in issue credential, that proof is verified. So it's those two sections, as far as I know, that are causing the confusion. So but I think you're saying it's this section right here. So what's the issue? And
No, the issue was basically that we are using the credential offer nonce or the credential request nonce for verifying the blinded link secret correctness proof. So that was there while issuing the credential, not while producing the credential request.
right. And in doing that, you start by verifying the request that was received.
Yes.
This is fine. This section is fine.
Yes, this section is fine.
Okay. So finally, we get down to producing the signature correctness proof. That's the other part, which is the rest of it's fairly straightforward. We're producing the signature and the signature correctness proof. So those are issues. Those are the things you don't yet understand.
No, these things. Okay, I have written the section in the chat. You can just directly go there.
Okay. This?
No, we can scroll down even further. We can scroll down to 8.3. Before that, the things are understandable.
Okay, 8.3.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, so here, while we are verifying the credential request, we are also verifying the blinded link secret correctness proof. It is there. So for that, we are using the nonce, as I saw in the implementation, in the Rust implementation. So the thing is that here in the specification, it is written that we are first verifying the nonce of the request, and then we are verifying the correctness proof of the that is sent with the request. But in the uh, paper where in the white paper, it was otherwise. Like we are using the offer nonce for verifying the correctness proof, and we are verifying the using the request nonce to generate the new correctness proof for the credential, issued
Correct.
credential.
That's
That's what
right.
I understood. So I guess it should be made clear in that section that we are not using the request nonce, we are using the offer nonce, because in this section it implies that we are using the request nonce for creating the verifying the proof.
Right.
You can in the 8.3.1 where it is written that checking at first the nonce, then the blinded secret correctness proof. So this might be confusing.
Okay.
So N0 is the request, is the offer nonce, and N1 is the request nonce. So,
You're right. And so it's N0 here, which is correct. So the N0 nonce, the one received in the offer, gets used by the holder when they create the blinded link synchronous correctness proof. And then the issuer uses N0 when they're verifying the proof, the blinded link secret correctness proof.
yes, and not N1. So
Right.
That is the
Okay. And then N1 gets used later. Okay, go ahead.
yes. N1 gets used later to produce the correctness proof of the credential.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the section that's got to be added. And I don't know if you've got a PR for that already, but N1 will get used in here in generating the credential signature correctness proof.
Is but that section is, I guess, later. Means here we are just verifying, and then the section is for generating a credential, and then we are constructing the proof.
Correct. So the credential signature, and then the proof, the credential signature correction proof, which includes the nonce provided in the request from the holder.
Yep.
Okay. Is that the only clarification needed?
Yes, that was the only
Okay,
confusion I
good.
had.
Okay.
So I will change the relevant sections in the specification, and I will create the PR then.
Okay. Sounds good. There are several proof request or PRs, pull requests to be verified. So please take a look through these, Mike especially. If you could take a look through these and make sure all is well. Yeah, sorting through these was really all I had on the agenda today. I see a couple other people have joined. Hey, Tim. Are there any other topics people want to go over? I'm currently working on the generation part of the spec. The generation part of the spec. So I'm filling that out, and we'll have a PR by hopefully today to clean that up. Convert it from being a purely sort of sequence of calls to a description of the data structures involved and the calls to the AnonCreds library. What are the inputs from it? What are the outputs from it? And there is where a reacher will be able to pin the various calculations that get done in producing the signatures basically from the in the proof. So that's where that part will get done. And that once we finish those two, we actually, I think, will be more or less then doing revisions on the final cleanup of the final document. So we're getting pretty close to having that. Any other topics to go over today that people are interested in? I notice Patrick is not here, unfortunately. He wanted to talk about revocation lists and various things to do with revocation, but he's not here. So we don't get to go through with those. I can imagine what he's interested in, the change in the implementation from deltas to full state, but I'm not sure what his specific questions are. All right, if there's no other questions, no other comments, that's all we had today. Take care. See ya.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye, all.